Mike Tyson. At 5
Mike.
feet 11 inches, Mike Tyson was small for a heavyweight.
Yeah.
Cus D'Amato had developed the peekaboo system decades earlier with Floyd Patterson and Jose Torres, but he refined it around
Floyd Patterson, the one that knocked out Buddy? I didn't know that.
decades earlier with Floyd Patterson and Jose Torres, but he refined it around Tyson's explosiveness. It's the first boxing style we're covering. The system is built on one idea. Defense and offense are the same motion. Hands high on the cheeks, forearms in front of the face, head never stopping, driven from the legs. When a jab comes in, Tyson slips and the hook is already loading. When he dips, he surfaces inside with the uppercut. Bigger fighters need distance to win. This style takes it away. Short, angled steps cut the ring down, forcing opponents into corners before they can reset. Against Trevor Berbick in 1986, you can watch it work in full. Slips into counters, inside combinations, angles that made a bigger man look lost. Roy Jones Jr.
Hey, hold on. Before we go anymore, bro, like, comment, subscribe. Y'all already know what's going on. Let me know in the comments what other boxing legends y'all want me to react to, and check the boxing legend reaction playlist for more videos. But hey, but every unique boxing style is explained, bro. I had to watch this video, bro. But look, let me know in the comments y'all favorite boxing style, man. Let me know in the comments, bro. I think mine.
Roy Jones Jr. broke every rule in the sport and won anyway. He fought with his hands at his sides, wide open, operating on reflexes that analysts at the time called the fastest they had ever seen on a professional fighter. Most fighters defend with their guard. Jones defended with his brain. In 2003, he moved up to heavyweight and outpointed John Ruiz over 12 rounds to win the WBA title, doing it the same way he beat everyone else, reading punches before they were thrown, slipping with a fluidity that looked closer to dancing than boxing, and firing from angles opponents had never prepared for. The dive bomb, his signature, was a punch thrown while lunging forward into range, generating knockout power from a position no coaching manual has ever endorsed.
Damn.
His nervous system processed incoming information faster than opponents could act on their own decisions. He switched stances mid-combination to hit from a side they hadn't prepared for. Nobody copied the style because nobody else possessed the reflexes that made it work.
Hell no.
Terence Crawford.
The hell?
Nobody in the sport uses both stances the way Crawford does.
Switch
He
stance
fights
God.
southpaw by default, but the stance he uses at any given moment is a tactical choice made during the fight. When he sees a pattern, a guard tendency, a timing habit that punishes it. Wrong game plan. Southpaw counters stop working because the angles are gone. Crawford probes before he commits, using light jabs and feints to build information. Once he has identified what the opponent is giving him, the opponent has to solve a fighter who can be either version of himself, and most never figure out which one to prepare for. In 2023, he stopped Errol Spence Jr. in the 9th round to unify all 4 welterweight titles. Crawford decided in the dressing room to come out southpaw, knowing Spence had rarely faced one. Spence had no answer.
Yeah.
Crawford dropped him 3 times and became the first male boxer in the 4-belt era to win undisputed championships in 2 different weight classes. Ryan Garcia. Ryan Garcia's left hook to the body is one of the punches in the sport. It is short, fast, and lands with power that does not match his frame. He sets it up differently every time, off the jab, off a feint, off a counter, so the timing never becomes predictable. Opponents spend the whole fight watching for it and still cannot get out of the way when it arrives. In January 2021, he faced Luke Campbell for the WBC interim lightweight title. Garcia was knocked down in the 2nd round. He got up, reset, and finished Campbell in the 7th with the left hook to the body, the same punch Campbell had spent the whole fight trying to avoid. At 5 feet 10 inches and rarely above 140 pounds, Garcia has used it to hurt fighters significantly bigger than him. The hook does not require space or setup. Campbell was a former Olympic gold medalist and had never been stopped before Garcia put him down with it in the 7th. Floyd Mayweather Jr. Mayweather fights out of the Philly shell. Lead arm low across the body, rear hand high, lead shoulder deflecting jabs, rear hand parrying hooks. What separates him from every other shell practitioner is the footwork. He never stays flat-footed in the pocket. The moment a counter opens, he fires and is already gone before the opponent can respond. The shoulder roll takes away the jab. The rear hand takes care of the hook. That leaves opponents with no clean entry, so they start reaching. And the moment they reach, Mayweather counters and moves.
Yeah,
By the middle rounds, he is countering shots before opponents have consciously decided to throw them.
He
In
different,
2013, Canelo Alvarez was 43-0-1 and considered the sport's next superstar. For 12 rounds, Mayweather rolled, pivoted, countered, and disappeared. He landed at 46% accuracy. Canelo landed 22%. Mayweather walked out with a majority decision, and Canelo never found a clean path through the shell. David Benavidez. Most fighters absorb punishment as a failure of defense. Benavidez absorbs it on purpose.
This can't be just unique style. This got to be just unique stuff for each fighter.
Conditions his body to take clean shots in exchange for staying in range, then buries opponents under volume until the guard comes down. The body attack is central. Repeated hooks and uppercuts to the ribs set up the overhead right once the arms drop. Opponents who think they have hurt him often find he absorbed it and kept throwing, which is psychologically destabilizing in a way technical skill alone cannot replicate. In 2023, Caleb Plant came in as a former IBF super middleweight champion with a style built around clean, defensive boxing. Benavidez overwhelmed him with volume for 12 rounds, outlanded him 210 punches to 91, and won every round of the final 7 on all 3 scorecards. Plant never found a way to make Benavidez pay enough to stop the pressure. Alexander Usyk. Usyk is right-handed but fights southpaw. That means his jab is on his stronger hand with a lead punch. He was trained by Anatoly Lomachenko, Vasiliy Lomachenko's father, which explains a lot about the footwork system he runs. He controls range with the pendulum step, hops in to attack, backs out before opponents can plant their feet, then repeats until their timing breaks down entirely. He throws combinations in unusual volume for a heavyweight, 5 or 6 punches, and frequently lands consecutive shots on the same side. The next punch arrives exactly where the opponent just moved to. In 2022, Anthony Joshua was a former 4-belt heavyweight champion who had specifically adjusted his game plan after losing to Usyk the year before. Usyk outworked him. He landed 170 punches on Joshua, dominated the final 3 rounds 79-29, and retained his WBO, WBA, and IBF titles by split decision. Joshua landed 87 of 376 attempts and never once made Usyk uncomfortable. Pernell Whitaker. Trained by George Benton, who essentially invented the Philly shell, Whitaker became the defense's move by George Benton, who essentially invented the Philly shell.
I did not know that. Damn.
Whitaker became the defense's most complete practitioner before Mayweather arrived. He fought southpaw, which added a full extra layer of difficulty for orthodox opponents trying to solve the shell. In 1993, Julio Cesar Chavez was 87-0, widely considered the most dangerous fighter on the planet. Whitaker made him look slow for 12 rounds, controlled him behind the jab, and outlanded him 311-220. Chavez could not solve the angles and could not get Whitaker to stand still long enough to land anything clean. It was ruled a majority draw. Nearly everyone ringside thought Whitaker had won clearly, and the result is still considered one of the most controversial
I remember that. They did Whitaker.
Whitaker was ranked the #1 pound-for-pound fighter in the world through much of the 1990s. In a sport where brain damage accumulates punch by punch, being the least hit fighter in the building for an entire career is its own form of genius. Tyson Fury.
That's a fact.
He was named after Mike Tyson, but fights nothing like him. Stylistically, he is closer to a 6'9" Muhammad Ali.
What?
Shoulder dips, body feints, and trigger jabs create a volume of noise that opponents cannot filter. The real punch comes out of that noise unexpectedly. In 2014, Derek Chisora was a credible heavyweight with a reputation as one of the harder men to stop in the division. Fury outclassed him so completely that Chisora's corner pulled him out after 10 rounds rather than send him out for an 11th. Fury was never troubled. He used his extreme reach not to keep Chisora at distance, but to manipulate his guard from range, then stepped inside for the clinch whenever Chisora tried to establish his own rhythm, killing the momentum and resetting the distance on Fury's terms every time. He switches stances mid-exchange, uses lateral steps to create angles, and has a genuine boxing brain operating behind all of it. Most opponents expect a giant who relies on size. What they get is a tactician who happens to also be a giant. Naoya Inoue. The force Inoue generates
Damn.
through every punch travels from the floor, up through the legs, through the hips, and whips through the arm on impact. That is why a 122-pound man puts
Yeah, he
opponents
be
down
putting
the way
shit
he
to
does. His wide stance keeps his body weight fractionally forward, compressing reaction time and loading his hips for immediate power on the counter.
That's how he
In
get
2023, Stephen Fulton was the unbeaten, unified WBC and WBO super bantamweight champion, making his third title defense. Inoue picked him apart from the opening bell, targeting the body early and repeatedly to force the guard down, then went upstairs once Fulton's arms started dropping. He landed 114 punches to Fulton's 47, dropped him twice in round 8
Damn.
with the same rotation going to the head, and stopped him in that round. Fulton had never been stopped before. The left uppercut to the solar plexus and the hook to the liver are his signature weapons. He plants them early, conditions opponents to lower their guard, and then delivers the same mechanics upstairs once that habit is established.
Yeah,
He can also throw an
punching.
uppercut and come back with a hook on the same hand in a single seamless motion, a combination most fighters cannot execute cleanly. Sugar Ray Robinson. Most fighters have a
Sugar
style.
Ray.
Robinson had all of them. He could read an opponent in the opening rounds and immediately identify which version of himself they needed least, then become that version. One round counterpunching off the back foot, next round closing distance and brawling, next round picking apart from the outside behind the jab. In January 1957, Gene Fullmer took Robinson's middleweight title by unanimous decision, using a smothering, brawling style that neutralized everything Robinson tried. Fullmer had never been stopped. 5 months later in the rematch, Robinson came out differently. He studied the pattern, identified that Fullmer was vulnerable to the left hook off a body feint, and waited. In round 5, he cracked a right hand to the body, then landed a compact left hook to the jaw that dropped Fullmer instantly. Fullmer tried to rise and couldn't. Boxing critics still call it the most perfect punch ever thrown. He held the middleweight title 5 separate times across 201 professional fights. Nobody found a consistent answer to a fighter who could be whatever boxer they had least prepared for. Manny Pacquiao. The detail that made Pacquiao dangerous came from a single footwork adjustment, stepping to his right, outside the orthodox fighter's lead foot, and firing the straight left down the pipe from a position where the opponent literally could not see it coming. That angle does not exist from the orthodox side. In 2008, Oscar De La Hoya was a 6-division world champion who outweighed Pacquiao on fight night despite Pacquiao jumping up 2 weight classes to meet him. It made no difference. Pacquiao attacked in bursts from the outside entry angle. 3, 4, 5 punch combinations, mixing levels and directions faster than De La Hoya could track in real time. 2 of the 3 judges scored Pacquiao winning every single round.
Damn.
De La Hoya's corner stopped it before round 9, and he never fought again. Freddie Roach took the raw aggression and built a system around it. Cut the ring, work behind the jab, build the combination, fire when the opponent is backed up. He moved diagonally rather than straight back, which made the counter lanes harder to find and kept him in position to attack from angles a bigger, slower fighter could not adjust to in time. Muhammad Ali. Most coaches teach the high guard as a baseline rule. Keep your hands up, protect your chin, never pull straight back. Ali broke every one of those rules on purpose. His guard sat at waist level by design, giving him unobstructed vision, loose whipping punches instead of stiff arm strokes, and the ability to shift direction instantly. What made it work was distance. Ali dictated range so precisely that opponents threw at a target that was no longer there, and he was already countering before they reset. The 1974 Rumble in the Jungle put the full system against the most dangerous test available. George Foreman came in 40-0 with 37 knockouts, entered as the heavy favorite, and outweighed Ali. Ali spent the early rounds on the ropes, absorbing shots on his arms while Foreman burned himself out throwing at a man who refused to fall. By round 8, Foreman had nothing left. Ali stepped off the ropes, fired a straight right, and Foreman could not beat the count. Vasiliy Lomachenko. Lomachenko's father pulled him out of boxing at age 9 and made him spend 4 years studying Ukrainian folk dancing before he was allowed back in the gym. The footwork those years built, lateral weight shifts, pivots, diagonal steps, became the foundation. Lateral weight shifts, pivots, diagonal steps, became the foundation of a style that makes opponents miss and then punishes them before they can reset. The core of it is the angle step to the blind side. Lomachenko feints across his opponent's line of vision, sneaks his lead foot to the outside of their front foot, and fires from a position where their rear hand cannot reach him. From that angle, he can land clean while the opponent is still trying to figure out where he went. Guillermo Rigondeaux was a two-time Olympic gold medalist and unified world champion who moved up 2 weight classes to fight Lomachenko in December 2017. He was one of the most technically gifted defensive fighters in the sport. Lomachenko spent 6 rounds stepping to angles Rigondeaux had never seen, making his guard irrelevant by attacking from positions it was not designed to cover. After the 6th round, Rigondeaux retired on his stool. He simply quit.
Damn. He said he simply quit, bro. Chill out, bro. He didn't quit. He just retired, bro. He said, man, this shit over, man. Checo just did me. Nah, I'm good, bro. And this is what really styles. This was just signature moves from certain boxers, which is cool. I think the Pickable and the Rooster and Pickable is probably my favorite ones. I'm not gonna lie. Let me know in the comments y'all favorite signature or style. But I'm gonna show you in that video, man. No,